Welcome to Up and Comers, a special edition of Testimony, a Musician's Story, featuring artists that you may or may not know. If you don't know them, you're about to know them. Let's get started. Singer-songwriter Drew Allen was born Andrew Allen, October 3rd, 1988, in Tampa, Florida.
I keep it on the low, act like I don't care. The way that I feel, man, it's so unfair. It ain't fair. Oh Lord. She don't know what she here for. Try to tell her your will, all she do is ignore. Yeah, you bad, but I can't open up that door. Already know where this goes, yeah. Oh man, she a killer. Looking for a man she could take home with her. Lord knows I wanna get her, but that ain't how a real saint supposed to live. Tryna shoot me down.
He is an only child raised by his mother. Drew's father is a high school and college basketball legend in the state of Florida. Unfortunately for Drew, his father was somewhat of an elusive figure throughout his childhood.
So a lot of the times, every time I would come out there to visit, and I'd visit like every summer, he'd either be in jail or we just, the family couldn't really find him. I never had any like resentment towards him or anything like that. It was always, I loved my dad. I wanted to see him. And, that unfortunately that wasn't the case. But it wasn't until about recently I went to visit a church of a friend of mine. They invited me out, and, the prophet was supposed to be there. And I'm, very skeptical of when I hear, prophet so-and-so is going to be in the building and whatnot. And so I went anyway, and he ended up prophesying to me that God was going to restore the relationship between me and my father. And he said a few other things, but that, as soon as he said that, I just broke down. I was just bawling. And surely, I don't know, it must have been 2 years after that prophecy, my dad got saved for real. He had many times had started going to church and, tried to change his life around, but just never made anything of it. He'd always end up back in the streets, but this time it was for real. And he completely surrendered his life to God, and me and him have a real relationship now.
There is a fire burning. I see a fire coming. There is a fire burning. I see a fire burning. Yeah.
While in elementary school, Drew moved to Colorado with his mother and stepfather. He lived the majority of his young life there. In middle school, he and his mom packed up their bags and moved to Jersey while his mom pursued a career as a music engineer. While on the East Coast, 9/11 happened, and along with the destruction of the Trade Center, went his mom's dreams. The two packed up and tried again on the West Coast. This time, Oakland, California. Oakland is where teenage Drew gave his life to Christ.
Filled with disappointment, saw this anger, love, and pain. All my selfishness and rebellion, your love has never changed. And I've seen the face of love and all His grace. 'Cause it drowns me, lifts me every single day. Yeah. Don't know how you see it, but I must confess, you see the beauty in a bunch of mess. Yeah. Whoa. You see the beauty in a bunch of mess. Through all of my pain, you see the beauty in a bunch of mess. Every day, you see the beauty in a bunch of mess. Looking right through me, see the beauty in a bunch of mess.
my mom didn't go to church, nor did my stepdad, but they considered themselves, they believed in God, sort of I don't know, your typical, I guess, Christian, you believe in God, but you don't really go to church. Maybe once every blue moon, you might go to church. It wasn't until I was about 15 years old when we moved out here to Oakland that I started taking God seriously. A friend of mine who was on the football team, he invited me to come to his church. And previously I had just, and I believe it was God, sort of giving me a nudge, telling me you need to start going to church, start going to church. Cause I just kept thinking about it. Like I should go down to this church down here, and check it out one day. And eventually a friend of mine, the church was right down the street from my house. He invited me, and I was just like, sure, I'll come on out, check it out. And ever since then, I started to develop my own relationship with God. I was growing and learning. I had became one of the leaders of young youth ministry at the time. I was like 15, 16. I was just doing a lot and really, really dedicated myself. And my life began to change, especially at school. It was more noticeable at school, not so much of my parents or my mom. They were supportive, like, oh, that's good, you go to church, that's nice. But they weren't definitely coming. It was something that, I had to get up and go on my own, or I'd get picked up and a friend would take me. But I started to feel and see more of the difference when I was at school, you know what I mean? Not conforming to some of the pressures that, high school offers, and a lot of that, I was ridiculed. I was made fun of. I was talked about. There was rumors started about me. I was gay because I wouldn't dance with girls at some of the dances, and just I dealt with a lot, and it would cause me to dig deeper and study and grind, and even in the midst of the persecution, it would cause me to rejoice. Read scriptures like blessed are those who are persecuted for my name's sake. And it's like, you find comfort in knowing that you're doing what is right. You're walking in righteousness and in truth. That was where I had to really, hang my hat. And then on top of the fact that I had a good friend, the guy who invited me, my friend Dom, me and him, we were boys, and it was good to have another person, another brother in the Lord to be able to relate, and share some of that experience with, So that was, I think that was an important piece of it too.
Like what you're hearing so far? Check us out at testimonystories.com.
That's testimonystories with an S.com.
Where you can hear content for you and about you. Everyone has a testimony. Everyone has a testimony. And we want to hear yours. Tell us how God has transformed your life. Each month, we will select a person to highlight and interview. Find out more at testimonystories.com.
Testimony.
A musician's story. Testimony, where Christian hip-hop artists give you an exclusive look into their lives and their music. Take a journey into the minds of today's top Christian hip-hop artists as they open up and share about their past, their faith, and their music in ways you've never heard before. Put on your favorite pair of headphones or turn the stereo volume up and listen.
A musician's story.
What's up, you guys? This is Drew Allen here, and you're now listening to Testimony, a musician's story.
This is my life, all night, got me feeling so right. No lie, melodies in my head, I keep running. Can you see what I say? Well, let me paint that fire. Just get back, just let the music take control. I'ma take what I'm giving, but let me show you how it go.
Despite the persecution he faced while at school, Drew persevered and became a star football player. He had several college football scholarship offers, including one to San Jose State. During the last game of the season, he tore his ACL and lost that scholarship. Drew stayed local and went to community college. Being home and plugged in with his church family kept him rooted and grounded in his beliefs. But all that changed when he accepted a football scholarship to Fort Hays State University in Hays, Kansas.
And when I went out there, I ended up, you know what I mean, my mind started drifting, and I just got absorbed into the whole college life and the college scene and partying and all of that. And I completely turned my back on God. And it's one of those. It was very like it was hard. It was hard for me to even do a lot of the things that I was doing because I knew it was wrong. So I found myself fighting, you know, harder, overdoing stuff, you know, just to go out and party and go out and I definitely learned my lesson. I definitely learned my lesson while I was out there. Went through some things. Ended up like failing all my classes because I was just so like partying. All I was doing was going out and partying and coming back, hanging out with friends. You know what I mean, playing football. You know, for as long as that lasted. Ended up losing my scholarship. Ended up, you know what I mean, getting kicked out of the school. I was away from my church home and, you know, where my roots were. So I felt, you know, just like this liberty. I could do whatever I want to do.
Left to his own devices, Drew failed out of school. He decided to pursue a musical career as a secular artist. His plan was to stay in Hays, Kansas, and do his own thing. But of course, Drew's plan wasn't God's plan. An old friend of his called him up to minister to him and offer him a plane ticket back to Oakland. Begrudgingly, he got on the plane.
Pieces, trying to pick up a heart off of the floor. I've been here before, but this time things are broken. I changed in time, thought I'd never become myself, but you don't feel the things I felt. Yeah, got me thinking like, always trying to do things the hard way. I should've known, if I would've listened to God, it never would've been this hard. Yeah, I wish I could go back, but what I know now, you don't know until you go too far. But you don't wanna go that far. Yeah, this ain't how it's supposed to be. Love has been polluted, poisoned by my lust, and now I see, causing the confusion. She don't know who she is anymore, lost in all the lies I told. If I could take this away, I would make it go.
I had been playing the piano and singing like since I can remember, but I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good at it. It wasn't until I was about 15, you know, when my friend had invited me to church, where I started to develop my, you know, being able to play the piano. I started developing that. I started singing more, you know, so my voice started to develop. And like I totally wasn't a singer, and you can ask some of the people that are close to me. It wasn't good. But it wasn't until I was 19 or 20, you know, after I had lost my scholarship, that I decided I was going to actually do music. Now, at that time, I was going to do secular music. Like, I changed my direction of my music maybe I think it's like 4 years ago. You know, for a long time before that, I was back and forth, like trying to figure out what am I going to do. Am I going to live for God? Am I going to do me? It wasn't until 4 years ago when I was flown out to New York to do some songwriting for some like major label artists, and was out there for a week writing. And I just started to listen to the stuff that I was making, and I was like, I cannot put this out to the world because this does not promote or produce godliness. This produces everything that goes against what God is and stands for. And that really bothered me. So, you know, that was sort of the point when I came back from New York. You know, I had made a decision to, you know what, I'm going to give my life to God. You know, I'm going to stand on that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to do. So the music sort of followed that. I write with that intent, you know, that it would minister to somebody, that they'd be able to relate to it. Why not put these songs out, all the rest of them, and just give them to the world so that God can minister to people through these songs.
Drew Allen recently released his debut album, Genesis, spelled with a J. There is no particular reason why he spelled it that way. It just looks cool.
This music's buried in my soul. I tell her all she wanna know. Don't think I'll ever let her go. I'ma do this till the day I die. I can't lie. Here we go. Man, I love it. Oh, man, I love it. 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 Man, I love it.
To find out how to get connected with Drew Allen, visit testimonystories.com.
Testimony.
A musician's story. Testimony, where Christian hip-hop artists give you an exclusive look into their lives and their music. Take a journey into the minds of today's top Christian hip-hop artists as they open up and share about their past, their faith, and their music in ways you've never heard before. Put on your favorite pair of headphones or turn the stereo volume up and
A
listen.
musician's story.
Connect with Testimony, a musician's story through social media. Find links to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at testimonystories.com. A musician's story.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, SMG. I'm JG.
RPSMG member Justin Goss goes by JG and was born on December 19th, 1987 in Fairfield, California.
Yeah, please don't compare me to nothing. Unless it's my Jesus or something. Cause he is, man, all I'm one. They be looking at me crazy, yeah. Because I do it for him, I do music. Oh yeah, I do it.
He was born to a drug-addicted mother, and his father was murdered before he was born. So his mother's godmother took in JG as her foster son and eventually adopted him as her own. His adoptive mother was a missionary with 10 older kids of her own. When JG was 12, she had a heart attack. On the day of her release from the hospital, her entire family came with cake to celebrate the return of their monarch. That is when they got news that she had an allergic reaction to her medication and passed away. Her death made him question the very existence of God.
And when she passed away, it was like, how could you be real if you take away the only person that loved you? But after she passed away, they had a big old battle of who I was going to go live with, and it was all over money. I just felt like that. I felt like I missed that. So it was like, God, you're not real. I denied him as much as I could, but I just knew, you know what I'm saying, what was true and what I thought and what I felt. But it just was like, how could you, though? It's like, how could you take away the only person that understood me, the only person that was willing to invest enough time to give me anything? You know what I mean? When most of the kids are, this is my mom's foster child. That was the worst feeling ever, to be called, this is my mom's foster child. This is foster son. I ended up going to live with her daughter, Lorraine, and that was like, it was hell for me. And I hate to say that because, you know, she ended up adopting me, but, you know, I just felt like a check, you know. I didn't feel like a human. I felt like a check. And then I started figuring out how much money it was, and it made it more so hurtful, you know. It's my family.
As if he didn't experience enough as a kid, without knowing his father, a mother with an addiction problem, and a mother who passed, JG also fell victim to becoming the prey to a couple child predators that were close to him. Parental advisory may be necessary for the remainder of this story.
They see me doing my thing now. Doing my name in the dirt. I promise it hurt, but I'm smelling. I'm saying, look at me now. Yeah. You try to kill me, it made me stronger. Now I'm where I belong, just look at me now. Yeah. Foster boy turning up, I ain't never giving up. Just look at me now. You can look at me now. You can look at me now. Just look at my smile. You can look at me now. I'm chilling. Just look at me now. Yeah, look at me now. Yeah. Look at me now. I'm chilling.
I was hard to talk about, but basically an adult compared to me took advantage of me. And I'm young. I don't know nothing. at about 6 years old, I knew I wasn't related because, they were like, oh, you're a foster boy. You're not related to us. You know what I mean? And, they let me know early. And so, at a young age, I was forced in that, very sexual vein, and that doors open that should have never been opened that early. And so, throughout most of my life, I dealt with that, and it was, of course, terrible. You know what I mean? Of course, made me feel hellish. As you're a kid, you try to wash it away. But especially me, I tried to wash it away like it never happened, and it did. And then as well as one time I remember I was about 12, 13 years old, and my godfather, which was, one of my biggest inspirations, I woke up, and he was laying beside me, and I get up, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then I get up, and then my godfather's crying, like, what's going on? Basically, he was molesting. He had foster kids, and he was molesting them all. And I realized he touched me, and it was one of the worst things. And I didn't say anything for years. I didn't say nothing until I was about 20 years old, 19 years old, because it was unbelievable. It was so unbelievable because he was like my only dad that I ever had. He was always there. He would correct me. He would go bad on me. He was, you know what I'm saying? He would discipline me. He was like my dad, and it made me trying to prove my manhood so hard. That's why I was like, I'm telling you, when I've done a lot of dirt, and I've done women and young ladies so bad in my youth because I was trying to prove that I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't. I didn't struggle with it. And so many people, man, so many perverted adults that take advantage of them being adults. It doesn't make any sense. And so I know that people have been through it, and it sucks because when you're going through it, you feel like you're by yourself. You feel like you're the only person in America that's somebody that they love and look up to ever touched in an appropriate manner. And I want to let you know, if anybody's listening, that you're not by yourself, and it's happened to a lot of people. Open up your mouth. Be heard. Don't be afraid. Because God has got you. More than anybody, more than your pastor, more than anybody, God's got you. He's going to make sure He's going to guide you in what to say and who to go to. So just listen to the Lord. And also, for you adults that have never said anything, talk about it. If you don't want to talk to anybody about it, talk to your friend about it, and just let it out. Because I know you want to. Just let it out. It's not your fault.
As a married man, unfortunately, the affliction from his childhood crept into his bedroom.
Because I was so sexually active as a kid, I almost perverted my bedroom. You know what I mean? I had to realize that what is causing me to be so sexually active and so young and, used to doing whatever, whenever, that's not how marriage works. And my idea of marriage was just sex. And it was a license to have sex. That was it. And it caused a whole lot of strain. You know what I'm saying? But God has definitely allowed me to see myself, and it allowed me to really, truly see what I've been through. And now I'm able to conquer it instead of allowing my flesh to conquer me.
It all started like a fairy tale. It was like living in a movie. Then it all got real, yeah. I broke it, I left it wide open. She's leaving, don't leave me, please don't leave me. She lost it, she's crying. I'm broken, I'm dying. I'll fix it, I'm trying. Cause I just wanna show you every little thing that I do. Baby, you deserve it all. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. I won't sleep, I won't sleep.
Testimony.
A musician's story. Testimony, where Christian hip-hop artists give you an exclusive look into their lives and their music. Take a journey into the minds of today's top Christian hip-hop artists as they open up and share about their past, their faith, and their music in ways you've never heard before. Put on your favorite pair of headphones or turn the stereo volume up and listen.
A musician's story.
Everyone has a testimony, and we want to hear yours. Tell us how God has transformed your life. Each month, we will select a person to highlight and interview. Find out more at testimonystories.com.
Testimony.
Download the podcast of Testimony, a Musician Story on iTunes. Find out how at testimonystories.com.
A musician's story.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy JG, aka Just to Know Your Word. And you're now tuned in with Testimony and Musician Story.
Although his experiences have been traumatic to his well-being, JG says he wouldn't trade them because it has helped him to deliver a young woman from the very same thing he struggled with. It was then he realized there was a reason he had gone through it all. One could only imagine the type of anger and confusion he felt growing up. But at the same time, this boy loves to laugh and joke around. His behavior was bad. He started smoking weed when he was 8 and selling it when he was 12. He became a prolific liar and a menace that never got caught doing anything. God was nudging him towards his heart, and he finally heard him one day while at a Christian revival.
The preacher was preaching. He was like, you hate yourself, you're mad at yourself, you're mad at what everybody has done to you, you hate your life, and when God loves your life, he loves that life. He's just going in on God's love and his grace, and he loves you past everything you've been through. You don't look like what you've been through. He's just preaching. He's not saying my name. He's looking in the balcony. You young man, you come from among them. You know that God's called you. You came here with a decision. The devil tried to change you. You think you're going to a party in the middle. He just was knowing all the business. And he was like, right now is your time or you will die tonight. Come to the altar. I started crying, and they were like, you good? And I'm like, I can't take this no more. So I started walking downstairs, and they were like, he's serious. I'm walking down the steps, and I finally come to the front, and as I'm walking, everybody is crying. And I just remember crying, and I couldn't feel my face. I couldn't feel my body. I just was laid out on the floor. And then when I got up, he said, you have a word in you that you're going to be able to declare to the nation. You're going to be doing something for the rest of your life that you have no clue that you're going to do. You're going to write songs that's going to touch your generation. He's just going for the gusto, and I'm just crying. And all of a sudden he repeated, he said, turn around. Everybody that was in the balcony was at the altar crying out. He was like, he turned around, he said, this is what the altar will look like when you proclaim the gospel, when you minister, and how God's going to show you. You're going to write that song that's going to change someone's life, and you're going to remember this moment. And I was bawling, crying.
JG became on fire for the Lord. Dude went to school sporting a preacher suit and started declaring the gospel. He and his cousin would do Walmart ministries and tell every shopper about the good news. Then he went off to the University of Nevada, Reno, where he played baseball and pitched for the Wolfpack. He also doubled as a wolf in sheep's clothing.
And so I was in college, I was like, YOLO. And I was publicly worship at one of the biggest churches. I was just hypocriting, it just didn't make no sense. I thank God that God is a forgiving God, and he is jealous for our hearts. And he got my attention. I had a dream that I was preaching and somebody shot me 5 times in the face and looked over my body and said, hypocrite, how dare you sleep with my daughter and preach the gospel. I was a senior pastor, and that's the road where I was headed because I was in leadership, and then I would be having sex with the women in leadership. You know what I'm saying? I was really, 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 losing it because I just was like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? These people do whatever and get away with it, so I'm going to do whatever and get away with it. I ain't married. They're married, and I'm in a place where nobody knows me, and they think I'm perfect. They thought I was Jesus Jr. You know what I'm saying? They're like, he got a word, he could prophesy in a drop of a hat. I was living just wrong. It's just wrong. And God showed me that dream, and it was like, it's time to get it together.
He got it together and is working in his musical gifts and trying to live out the title of his latest project, The Pursuit of Happiness.
To be able to look at the reality of what I'm doing now, getting messages from people saying how a song has just touched their life and how a song has changed their marriage. And I've just been running ever since. And it's just been such a blessed journey.
It feels good to be where I am.
Thank you for listening to Testimony, a musician's story. To hear this episode again, as well as past episodes, visit testimonystories.com. Until next time, I'm Brown, Theory, the music lover constantly seeking positive music.
Baby girl looked at me with a smile on her face. Oh no, I don't want you to go through this. No. God grabbed my hand and said, son, yeah, we can do this.